let's get to it. Hey guys, it's Elle. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be reacting to 5 different dairy farmers TikToks that I saved and made me do a bit of a double take. So we're needing to take a look at these, pick them apart, talk about the misconceptions being used in the videos, and debunk some of the things these people are saying. With that being said, before we get into this video, I want to give a quick disclaimer. This video is not meant to slander any of these people. I don't know any of these people personally, and it's not meant to be a personal attack. I am not against farmers, I am against animal exploitation, and I think that the things that these farmers are doing is animal exploitation, and I think it's being normalized by the videos like this being put out on the internet, and people are being desensitized to it. So it's my job and my duty as an animal rights activist to be taking these misconceptions in these videos and to be giving you the real science and the real facts behind what is actually going on here. But again, I don't have anything against these people personally. I think farmers are great people. They feed our population. However, I don't want them to feed our population exploited animals. So all of the links I use for my research and the links that some of these people have used in their research will be linked below. If you guys want to check them out. With that being said, we have 5 different TikToks to get through, and make sure you stick around for the last one because oh my god, that one's a doozy. But let's get into the first video. Okay. The first video here is going to be on breeding on a dairy farm. So let's take a look at this one.
Today I'm going to be showing you guys how we breed cows on our dairy farm. Before I get everything ready to actually breed the cow, we're going to lock the head lockers in our cow barn here. So now when a cow is going to come, she's going to stick her head through here, grab some food. She's going to get locked up, and this is how we're going to keep her still for AI here. So we're looking for cow number 792 this morning. All right, so
notice how he calls her cow number 792. These cows don't have names, they are numbers, and we'll get more into the number thing with one of the other videos.
Here's 792, and we know she's in heat because of this collar that's actually around her neck right here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's an activity transponder, and it measures how much the cow moves around the barn. When a cow is in heat, they're running around, they're jumping, they're smelling other cows, they're just moving a lot more than normal, and that transponder measures their activity in the barn, and it shows us a graph on our computer, a spike in activity, and when she's at the top, that's how we know she's in heat. So we're gonna go in AI her now.
We're gonna go ahead and AI her now. AI stands for artificial insemination. For those of you who don't know, and I definitely did not know this before I started doing my research on veganism, cows do not just give milk whenever the hell they want. Cows, like every other single mammal, including humans, must have recently been pregnant or given birth in order to give milk. This is a common misconception that people think cows just give milk and that's their job, but no, this is not the truth. So a very, very common practice on dairy farms is artificial insemination, which is an artificial impregnation of these female dairy cows. They get impregnated, they have to be pregnant for 9 months, they give birth, and then once they're all healed up, they get impregnated again. They are factories for their reproductive organs. So this is why most farms have to use AI. It is a very inefficient process to just put a bull in the pen and hope that they do the dandy. They have realized that that's unreliable, so they have invented this system of artificially impregnating cows, and we're going to get a little more into the process with the next video. But before we do that, I want to point out a few things in this first video. First of all, he's talking about how they have to lock their heads into this, some farms call them a cattle crush. They lock their heads into a gate so they can't move or get away from the farmer when they're being AI'd or artificially inseminated. So there's no escaping this process. So it's not really done through free will. These cows aren't just standing there and asking to be AI'd. So they're being held against their will. I also wanted to mention again that he called her by her number. She is just a product of her reproductive system to this farmer. She's not a pet, she's not a friend, she is not an animal that this farmer loves. She is just simply a number that's being exploited for her reproductive system in order for him to get milk. It's just kind of an exploitative process if you're really thinking about it. So the second video that we're gonna watch is the part 2 to this video. So let's get into that one. I do want to let you guys know this one's a little bit more graphic, so if you're squeamish at all, you might want to skip ahead, but I recommend that you do watch it. You should know the process of how these cows are artificially inseminated, because this is such a common practice. This is standard across all dairy farms. So let's watch the second video.
We're back in the vet room right now, and this is where we're actually going to prepare the semen to go and AI that cow. So we got a couple things in here. These are our semen tanks right here. There's liquid nitrogen in there, and this is where we actually store the semen. So we're gonna be pulling it out, putting it into our semen thawer right here. There's water in here. It's held at perfect.
So as we know from 5th grade sex ed, that there has to be semen involved in a pregnancy. So as we can see, he is opening up these semen holder tanks that are filled with liquid nitrogen to keep it cold, because it's a perishable product, and then he puts it in this other machine. It's just such an unnatural process, kind of weird, kind of yucky. Anyways, let's keep going.
Perfectly 37 degrees Celsius, which is the perfect temperature you want to keep your semen at. I want some fuel, using canister 4. Keep it on your skin. Your skin is pretty close to 37 degrees Celsius, so that works perfectly good. So that's our breeder.
Snuggling with the bull semen. Yeah, let's do that.
Sleeve. Get a bit of lube on our hand.
So he's not explaining what he's doing here, so I'm gonna do it for you. His arm with the pink glove on it is gonna go into the anus of the cow, and this is so he can hold the cow's cervix through the wall of the anus and through the vaginal wall, which are kind of connected. So he's gonna hold the cervix, and then he's gonna insert this pipette with his other hand into the vagina of the cow and insert the semen into her cervix to impregnate her. So I'm gonna let you watch that.
Just like that, cow's bred,
So, okay. I know that's a disturbing thing when you watch it for the first time, but it actually never gets better. That's just gross. He obviously cuts the video there. You can see it in the middle of him having his arm up the bum of this poor lady. He is kind of, it almost feels deceitful, like he is trying to cut out a part of the video where potentially this cow was squirming or not wanting this process to be done, was trying to move away from him. This is very common in the AI practice, because I don't know about you, but having a whole arm shoved up your booty hole sounds extremely uncomfortable, and has to be uncomfortable for these cows. We can't just assume that they're stupid dumb animals and they don't know what's going on and it's fine, we can just stick our arms wherever we want. It's complete violation of her sex organs, it's a complete violation of her reproductive system. This is so gross, this is so exploitative. I hate it. I hate it so much, and you should too. I think a piece that he's forgetting here, which probably isn't his job because usually farmers will outsource this kind of work, is where this semen is coming from. What is the practice of acquiring this semen? It doesn't just come out of thin air. So because he doesn't get into that, I'm gonna do it for you. Bulls are either stimulated by the farmer with the help of an artificial cow vagina, which I literally found online for sale. So gross, so weird. And then the semen is collected upon ejaculation from them having intercourse with this artificial vagina. Or we have a process called electroejaculation, where an electric prod is stuck up the bum hole of the bull cow, and this is called an electroejaculator, and it basically sends electromagnetic shocks into the butt of the cow, and this causes him to have an erection and to ejaculate, and they will collect the semen upon ejaculation from that process as well. Both practices are standard amongst farms that do semen collection, and I think we can agree here that both processes are extremely invasive. No one should ever be sexually violating another sentient being for any reason without consent, because this is disgusting. This is a human using their intelligence and their technology to take advantage of an animal's sex organs. I will never support anybody drinking dairy because it is literally a product of sexual exploitation, and I will never support that. Okay, let's get into the next video.
A lot of people ask why we put tags in their ears. We do this so we can identify who's who. She will be known as 469 on the dairy. I also get asked if this hurts. It just feels like you're getting your ear pierced. It's quick. You see, she didn't even flinch when I put it in. And then when she has her first baby, she'll get a tag in her other ear.
Okay, I just wanted you to watch that once. Let's play it again because it's a pretty quick video, and I'm gonna pause it and commentate on it.
A lot of people ask why we put tags in their ears.
So first, he has her poor head in between his legs. This is similar to what we talked about earlier with the cattle crush, or the gate that closes on the cows' heads. They're being restrained. If they wanted to get away, they could not. And she is squirming, she's trying to get away, she doesn't want this done to her, it is completely non-consensual. And he has this big stapler up to her ear. Of course she's trying to get away.
We do this so we can identify who's who. She will be known as 469 on the dairy. I also get asked if this hurts. It just feels like you're getting your ear pierced. It's quick. You see, she didn't even flinch when I put it in.
Didn't even flinch when I put it in, but she was trying to get away from you the whole time.
And then when she has her first baby, she'll get a tag in her other ear.
Ear tagging is not like a human getting their ears pierced. Let me just say that. First of all, this is completely non-consensual. How would you like it if I just ran up to you with a big stapler and gave you a piercing unannounced? Let's think about it that way. This is not a fun, cute piece of jewelry that the cow wanted and asked for. This is a way for this cow's oppressor, or the farmer, being able to assign a number to a sentient being. We can think about all the times in history where this has been done, where we've assigned numbers to human beings, and we obviously will not ever allow that to happen again. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay, let's move on to the next video. Okay, so let's explain what's going on here. Oh my god, my battery is gonna die. Please hold. We're back with fresh lipstick and a charged battery. Where the frick is my TV? Okay, we watched the video of the calf learning how to drink from the bucket, but we're gonna watch it again a little slower. I'm gonna pause and commentate on it, so let's. Okay, so as we can see, this calf doesn't know how to drink from a bucket because it's supposed to be drinking from its mom at this point. But the dairy industry actually does not allow dairy calves to drink from their mother. So we talked about artificial insemination. Obviously, that results in a calf being born after a 9-month pregnancy. And cows are very maternal beings, but they have their calf taken away. I think it's like 90% or something of baby calves are taken away from their mother after being born within the first 24 hours, and it's considered the most humane option before they bond. So she'll lick her calf. They'll give the calf the colostrum, which is that first drink of milk, which has a bunch of essential nutrients for the calf, and that's the last time they'll drink from their mother. They will be fed replacement formula from that day on, and placed in solitary confinement hutches where they are not allowed access to drink from their mom. And so because these calves don't instinctively know how to drink from a bucket because that's not natural for them, he's having to stick his fingers in the calf's mouth like an udder. So she'll suckle on his fingers and then draw her down into the bucket for her to drink. And obviously the poor calf is trying to breathe out of her nose, because that's natural. When you're drinking something out of a straw, you can still breathe out your nose. And that's creating these bubbles that we're seeing. So basically she's waterboarding herself with this milk because she doesn't know how to drink from a bucket, because it's like asking an infant to drink out of a cup. Of course they're not going to be able to do that, and we don't do that for safety reasons because they could potentially choke. Let's keep going. I'm so sorry that this is testing your patience, but you took the mother away from the baby cow, so I actually don't feel bad for you. So I want to back it up to the beginning here where he puts this laughing emoji and says, "Wait for the bubbles," like it's something funny. Like, this cow is snorting milk up her poor nose. Of course it's not funny. Of course it's he wants to make it this funny, cute thing that's happening, but it's not funny. We're actually taking the instinctual want and need to suckle from our mother when we're an infant, like this baby cow is, and asking it to do something that's so incredibly unnatural for them, and saying that it's funny when they are suffocating on the milk. That's just ridiculous. And also, this is likely formula replacement, not real milk. So, and the last video, we are finally here to the 5th video. This guy is making so many ridiculous claims in this video that it just irks me. So we are going to watch this one through, and then we are going to unpack all of the claims that he makes. So stick around.
Soulja Boy tough. Soulja Boy, I been it. Why me crank it? Why me roll? Why me crank that Soulja Boy? That Superman? That now why me crank that Soulja? 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 Now what? Soulja Boy, I been it. Why me crank it? Why me roll? Why me crank that Soulja Boy? That Superman? That now why me crank that Soulja? Now why me crank that Soulja? Now why me crank that Soulja? Now why me crank that Soulja?
Yeah, feel great about supporting my industry where I exploit animals. Okay, let's get into all these claims that he made, because there's a lot going on here. We need to unpack all of them. So let's go one by one.
Soulja Boy tough.
Okay, so he says, in the last 70 years, we produced 3 times the milk with half the cows. It is true that between 1944 and today, we need far less cows to produce the same amount of milk, but this is not for the reasons why we might think. It's not because farmers are being more environmentally friendly. It's not because they want to use less cows for the benefit of the cows. No, this is a product of selective breeding. Animals in agriculture are bred to possess the desirable traits that we want in order for them to produce the most amount of product for us. So an example outside of dairy might be that broiler chickens or chickens raised for their meat have been artificially bred to have bigger breasts and bigger legs in order to be more of a sellable commodity, in order to have more weight on them, in order to have more meat on them that can be sold by the farmer. In dairy specifically, what we've done is breed cows to have the biggest udders possible. And what this has done is increase the capacity of the milk that the cow can produce. This may seem like a beneficial practice. We're using less animals are being exploited. What's wrong with this? But it's really only beneficial for the farmer's wallet, and here's why. This selective breeding process has had a lot of unwarranted consequences on these poor cows. Creating bigger udders has ultimately meant that these animals are having genetic defects. We are messing with the natural genetics of these animals in order to create beings that we want them to be instead of what they are naturally. So we are messing with genetics, and this is creating the susceptibility to infections. This is creating infertility issues, and a big one we see in dairy is lameness. That's just a term used by the dairy industry for a cow that's expressing pain. They might be laying on the ground and not getting up, they might not be as active, they might not take to being artificially inseminated as well, they might be irritable, they might not be social, and other expressions of pain, just, you know, being injured, calling out a lot. We can see sores and infections on these cows. And this is often started by various types of foot infections. As these animals are walking around in their feces all day, they are really susceptible to foot infections. So this then ends up spreading from their feet and their hooves to their other musculoskeletal systems, creating them to have the inability to even get up at all or to be bred. And then they become useless to these farmers, and more times than not they will end up at the slaughterhouse, because if they can't produce milk, or they're no good, or they can't stand up, they're no use to these farmers. They do not love these animals enough to keep them around once they are not productive for them anymore. So off to the slaughterhouse they will go in order to create cheap meat for McDonald's. So sorry for the outfit lighting angle change. But my camera died yesterday, and then I had to go to class, and then I didn't have time to film. But we're back, because we cannot miss this last video and debunking all these myths that this guy is trying to spread. So he says, eliminating all dairy cows would reduce greenhouse gases by 0.7%, but also lower total available nutrients. He makes another claim about nutrients, probably citing the same source, so we're going to get into that one in a little later. But we're going to talk about the greenhouse gases that is produced by dairy right now. So he says eliminating all dairy cows would reduce greenhouse gases by 0.7%. And even if this was the case, that this was the only amount of greenhouse gases that would be reduced by eliminating all dairy cows, we would take it, because this is a completely unnecessary industry. And we'll take 0.7% of our greenhouse gases being lowered, because we can take anything we can get at this point. We're in a climate emergency, and we can't be spending any extra on dairy or animal products that are unnecessary for human consumption. So if that was the case, we would take it, but this isn't true, because the source that he cites actually makes the ridiculous assumption that we would be eliminating all dairy cows, so all physical animals, but we would still be growing all of the feed that we grow for these animals to eat, while not having any cows to feed. It almost makes sense, because the authors of this study work for the animal agriculture industry to create studies like this that can't be easily comprehended by the regular consumer, and they'll think, oh, okay, like science is telling me that it's okay to eat dairy now, I'm gonna eat dairy. Well, climate scientists have actually looked into this and have realized that the way that this study has been set up is absolutely rigged in order to be in favor of dairy and animal agriculture. So no, this is not true that it would only reduce greenhouse gases by 0.7%. It would be much more greenhouse gases being eliminated because we would eliminate all of the agriculture needed in order to feed these animals, which is such a widespread problem. This is part of the huge problem we have with deforestation in Brazil. So much of the soy that the rainforest is being plowed down in order to plant in Brazil and in other rainforest areas is to feed cattle, one specific area being dairy cattle. So this is a major problem. Also, this doesn't talk about land use, water use at all, but he does talk about it in other statistics, so let's get into that one. So it says, compared to 1944, we use 21% of the animals, 23% of the feed, and 35% of the water, and 10% of the land for a gallon of milk. So this also has to do with the selective breeding process. Without selective breeding, we could not have reached any of these numbers. He also didn't cite a study that said these numbers at all. So I'm not really sure where he's getting these from, but if this was true, this has to do with selective breeding, which obviously we've talked about is very harmful to the actual animal themselves. When this is such an unnecessary industry in the first place, we do not need to drink the milk of a bovine mammal to be healthy. It doesn't make sense that we are even using this much resources in the first place, even if it's been reduced since 1944. Another reason for this reduction is the implementation of modern technology. We've been able to increase technology. Of course, things have become more efficient, but it's only become more efficient to benefit the farmer's paycheck, not to benefit the animals at all. So, or the environment. They don't give a shit. So this one says, cows also use land that is unfit for human food to convert grass, in all caps, to meat and milk. First of all, cows do not just consume grass. They're not just on pasture land all day eating their grass and then giving milk. This is not how this works. They have a very highly curated diet that's been created by vets that is partly grass, and I will say most farmers will claim that it's the majority grass, or at least 50%, either grass or dried alfalfa or other leafy vegetables like that. But it's also corn and soy. And what are two major crops that we grow and burn down the Amazon rainforest for? Grain, like corn and soy. We need to be able to remember that the animals are not just being placed on pasture land and grazing on grass that humans can't eat. Their food is being planted in areas of land that could be used to grow human food. So it's almost a joke that he's saying this, because the amount of land that we're using to produce animal food and then feeding it to animals and then eating the animals is such an inefficient system, when we could be using all of the land that we use to grow feed for these animals for food that could be fit for human consumption. Here's a secret: cows eat a lot more than human beings, and they need a lot more land, obviously, to grow their food, because they need a lot more volume of food per day. And so all of the land that we use to feed these 70 billion land animals that we have on top of our 8 billion humans could be used as land to grow human food. There's a lot of statistics that have gone into the fact that if everyone went vegan, we would be able to solve our world hunger problem. Maybe we'll do a video about that in the future, but that is not what this one is about. But he's highly, highly simplifying what's going on in the dairy industry. It's not just grazing cows on green pasture to create your meat and milk. No, it's not. Let's get into the next claim. So it says, switching all acres from dairy cows to fruits, veggies, or beans would mean a 57% decrease in vitamin B12 and a 54% decrease in vitamin D off the same acres. So this is an interesting statistic that he has here. This also comes from those same dairy science researchers that we talked about before. They basically claimed in the study that they would either make all of the land that is currently being used to grow cattle feed or dairy cattle feed to either grow vegetables or either grow fruits or either grow beans. Of course, if we have one thing grown on all those lands, we're not going to be able to get all of our diverse nutrients that the body needs. We need multiple different types of fruits and vegetables every single day if we want to be vegan, in order to create a balanced diet of fruits and vegetables. And yes, of course, most of the population gets their B12 and vitamin D right now from dairy. That's not a secret, or from meat, animal products in general. But that doesn't mean they have to do that. We could all create the collective decision, and this would not happen overnight, that the world would transition to a vegan diet, and then we would no longer need the dairy cows. We would no longer need to use the land that we use to feed them for the feed crops. We could grow a variety of different plant foods on them, and then the land we don't need, we could reforest and use for other better purposes. So this is also skewed data, a skewed study created by animal agriculture scientists who are paid off to put out studies that benefit their industry. Earthling Ed has a great video on this. I'll link it below if you guys are interested, about a creator that used this same study to try to defend animal agriculture, and he debunks every single claim that that creator used. So I will link that below in case anybody wants to check that one out. We have one last claim here, so let's get into it. Okay, so this is talking about costs per milligram of calcium for different foods. It says milk is 12 cents per milligram, meat is $2.45 per milligram, fruit is $3.33 per milligram, and vegetables is $1.13 per milligram. This has nothing to do with how much it costs to produce these foods, and everything to do with government subsidies, which is taxpayers' money that the government distributes to aid different industries. Since 1995, a whopping $5 billion has been poured into the dairy industry alone in subsidies in order to help them with all elements of their industry. And on the other side of the coin, the only plant agriculture that is being subsidized by the government is corn, soybeans, wheat, cotton, and rice. Just 5 plant foods out of the thousands of plant foods on the earth. Note that 2 of these crops, corn and soy, are crops where the majority are grown and fed back to livestock, not humans. So this is also aiding the animal agriculture industry, and not necessarily even the plant industry. Alright, so why do they have to dish out so much money to these industries? Well, let's think logically here. What do we think costs more? Raising an animal and all the different things involved with raising an animal, including housing, feeding, giving them water, veterinary care, breeding, processing their products, and then transporting, and then at the end of their lives, when they're no longer useful, they'll be slaughtered. So that's another cost that we have to uphold. Or do we think plant agriculture costs more, where we're just growing crops, which involves planting, watering, harvesting, and transporting? That's it. I think we can figure that one out for ourselves. Which one really costs more to actually produce? So that's what makes these numbers that he gave us such a skewed viewpoint on how much these nutrients actually cost to develop and create in industry. The only reason why it's 12 cents per milligram of calcium for dairy is because they got $5 billion in subsidies last year to be able to make their product cheaper. Alright, that was all the TikToks that I have to share with you guys today. If you guys like this reaction style of content, I can do more like this. We can do other industries. This is really fun for me actually to do the research on debunking these people's claims. So let me know if you liked this in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. That will help me get this information out to more people so we can stop the misinformation in its tracks. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Al for the Animals out.